emergency for the first time in about...
This is Jim, and
Receiving this message. We are Ken Jennings and John Roderick. We speak to you from our present, which we can only assume is your distant past, the turbulent time that was the early 21st century.
Fearing the great cataclysm that will surely befall our civilization, we began this monumental reference of strange and obscure human knowledge. These recordings represent our attempt to compile and preserve wonders and esoterica that would otherwise be lost.
So whether you're listening from an advanced civilization or have just reinvented the technology to decrypt our transmissions, this is our legacy to you.
This is our time capsule. This is the Omnibus. You have accessed entry 370.NU3603. Certificate number 33143. Dollar princesses.
The war destroyed many households, and thousands of families, the breadwinners, are dead.
So you want me to contribute?
You don't have to give money after every conversation, Mother.
No? Isn't that what the English expect of rich Americans?
So for historical context, we are living through the waning days of maybe the era of the dollar, the American dollar.
Wow, do you think so? Or are you going to quote some sources on that, or do you just feel like the dollar has lost all credibility?
Well, if it's just looking at history, like what empire is really going to have economic sway over an entire planet for, longer than a century.
How does the dollar rank against the pound and the euro right now? Both of those the pound's been like a standard for half the world.
Did you know this is not an answer to the question, but it's kind of a fun fact. Did you know that the official currency of the United Kingdom is not the pound?
Go on.
It's the sterling. The pound is like a unit of sterling.
Oh. And is sterling is it tied to silver?
Have we done this bit on the show before? I assume it used to be.
Yeah.
Hence the name. And now it's just a free floating thing. But and we don't think about that because we have our unit of our currency, the dollar, is in fact the dollar.
It's just the dollar.
Yeah. We have dollars of dollars, but they have pounds.
Since the Nixon administration, at least.
Dollars of dollars. And they have pounds of sterling. So yeah, I'm not just talking about fluctuating exchange rates, but for long enough that we think of it as permanent, the dollar has been thought of the safe bedrock of commerce worldwide. Mm-hmm. And it seems like there's some cracks in that foundation that we were not aware of.
How many nations of the world have their currency tied directly to the dollar?
Yeah, there's a few. Was it Ecuador that just bailed on its own currency and said, we just have dollars now. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who these guys are.
Even printing money is too expensive.
There's a pyramid with an eye for some reason. I mean, if you get a bill from another country and it has like a big building with a pillared portico, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't care if I know what this is. Which of your many capital cities has this judiciary building? Fine.
Some of them are even museums, right? And the euros are all...
The euros are
so many euros.
A lot of cultural heritage on the euro. It's like, here's a harp from Ireland, and here's a plate of bolognese on the... That can't be right. Some of them probably do have food, though, or here's a Maltese guy in a cap.
Yeah.
Our famous Maltese cap.
Well, and in the old days, right? Oh, the Dutch used to have such beautiful currency, and it seemed to have a bunch of poets on it, but maybe they just looked like poets.
I think that's true of a lot of countries, because you look at I often, if I'm in a country, I will look up whoever this person is staring out at me from the 10 whatever note, and it'll inevitably be like, our greatest playwright of the 1910s.
Right. Can you imagine the dollar with Henry Miller on it?
Eugene O'Neill is on the 5 now?
It would be Marilyn Monroe, and nobody would take the dollar seriously.
I guess we do that with coins, right? Just to appeal to collectors. We're not above throwing a beautiful waterfall onto a coin.
Only recently.
Yeah.
That's this whole game of like, are you a collector?
It did seem to cheapen currency a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Because, you think of it as permanent. Yes, there's always going to be George Washington and an eagle. What if I told you there was now some Alaskan guy in a canoe?
Well, it feels like we also crossed some threshold where things are made purely for collectors, and that cannot be collectible.
Well, how can that pay for itself? Yeah, exactly. First of all, if it's a small group, how does this pencil out? And if it's a large group, nobody's going to collect it.
It just feels like Beanie Babies at a certain point. Like, I have every quarter from every railroad station in Pennsylvania. And it's like, nobody cares. We collected coins back when they had weird mint marks, and there were some that they didn't make very many of them.
Right. I guess, one of the things you're doing by saying, good news, there's now a quarter for every national park it's like mint marks. There's now 63 quarters every decade instead of one.
Right. Do you know anybody that has a collection of Starbucks cups?
No.
Because I know.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but like just sitting in their car because they have executive function.
No, Starbucks,
issues.
I think, started this a long time ago where every state, I guess, the Starbucks in that state, maybe city, have mugs that are specific to that Starbucks. So you have to actually go to the Starbucks to get the mugs. I mean, you can get them on the internet where people resell them, but people have racks, purpose-built racks in their homes that display, like we used to display thimbles and spoons. Except they're giant mugs that are like, I've been to Washington, D.C. And
how permanent are these? These are not just the insulated cardboard cups?
No, these are ceramic mugs. And then Starbucks stopped doing one series and started another series. And it's like a Beanie Baby thing, but people are serious about it.
Yeah, it must be whole executives now managing other people's OCD.
Yeah, right.
I'm the CEO OCD. I'm in charge of tricking Americans on the spectrum into thinking something is fun enough.
So they have to have everyone
to drink a lot of Starbucks they don't want.
Yeah.
And I guess that there is this broader audience of people who think it's fun, even if they're not like, I'm going to put my kid through college with these national park quarters. You get a lot of casuals. Like, I think when my older kid was little, I think he had a booklet that the Mint had been trying to trick the youth into buying that was like, you're going to put every quarter in here and think how fun that will be to display. And it was never like, this is like buying bonds.
Right.
But it was like, oh, what fun, youth of America.
But it turns out you can never find the Denver one, or you can never find, there's always
a few empty pennies in those things. And in this case, they may have overestimated Gen Z's ability to stick with any pursuit. So my son did not follow the national park quarters or whatever it was.
He put 4 in there.
He never got to the U.S. Virgin Islands in the lower right of his booklet.
I have a ton of things, but I've never gone through any kind of completist thing. It's always just like, I found this and then I found another one, so I guess I have a collection. Except last year, the monkey got on my back.
Literally. And you started collecting monkeys.
Now I have 40 monkeys. No, it was, I just sort of one afternoon, I was like, I had all these patches, right? These little patches that you get in different countries. Sometimes I'd be in a country and I'd see some tattered little Greece patch. Not a patch of Greece, but a patch from the country, Greece.
Made as souvenirs? Or
just like you buy it at some
kiosk or whatever.
But because I started traveling when I was young, a lot of them were made at a time before things were made in China. So they're all kind of lopsided and made with gold thread. And so I was like, I have these kind of in boxes all over. So I collected all the ones that I had and laid them out on a table. And I realized, I have patches from like a third of the countries I've been to, which is, a cool little section of patches. And then this thing lit up and I was like, what if I got a patch for every country I've I've ever been to. And I made a list, and it was, I don't know what, 60,
What is your
70,
country list? 60 or 70?
I think.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think I'm not to 50.
But, I have all these Caribbean nations and, the things that you can kind of, you can collect 15 countries just by going on cruises for 10 years.
And you didn't do quote marks with your fingers when you said Caribbean nations.
No,
I'm impressed.
A lot of them are nations. And even the ones
that are and it just have nutmeg on their flag.
Yeah, right. Or, like St. John or
you're just making them up. Saint
Curacao,
Jeffrey.
They're colonies still, right? But they're also countries. And so I started to get these. Well, a lot of them are easy. It's not hard to find Switzerland.
Patches?
Yeah, Switzerland is the one that I think invented little patches that have lots of little flags of all their...
Nice job, by the way.
Yeah, good job, Switzerland.
Do you think that's the history of their banking preeminency is all that patch money?
Well, the Germans, the Austrians, and the Swiss love to give you little badges. It's kind of endemic to their culture. It's why the Germans... Every single German has a uniform somewhere in their closet.
Well, that might be something different.
It's a little weird.
That might have Hugo Boss in it.
But there's a whole culture of walking sticks where you get little metal badges for
where you've been.
Yeah, all the like St. Moritz or whatever. Every little place you've gone, you hammer a little badge on your walking stick. Huh. But there are lots of countries where it's hard to find cool old patches. Like Bulgaria. Apparently, they don't make patches that say, I've been to Bulgaria.
That's hard for the completist like yourself.
Yeah, and so I ended up buying police shoulder emblems from some of these countries where it's like, well, we do have 40 kinds of police.
And they do say Bulgaria on them somewhere,
yep,
presumably.
But they all say like Bulgaria Assassination Squad or Bulgaria Person Disappearing
Stolen
Squad.
Valor, John.
And so...
You never kidnapped anyone in Bulgaria.
No, and I don't want them. I want just like a simple patch that says, I have been here. But I did end up spending a dumb amount of time and money trying to be completist. And
for every country you've been to.
Yeah. And it was the only time I've had that.
You could start sewing them yourself, I guess. You could learn a craft.
I could learn a craft. I could sew them on a thing. But then what are you, the guy that's walking around with a Levi's jacket with 60 patches on it?
Plus, in your heart, you would know which ones were fake.
Or some Bulgarian will walk up and go, why do you have the Assassination Squad patch? And I'd be like, it's not what I want.
Well, to some degree, the reason why you had the ability to wander the earth was because of your innate sense of yourself as an American.
Oh, for sure.
The preeminent citizen of Earth.
Absolutely.
For a long time. And let's say there's a chance that's coming to an end, that foreign investment is going to be less and less likely, and parking big amounts of money in American dollars, which is one of the things that's kept the currency so strong for many years. If you lose that illusion of, well, this is the default currency, then other dominoes can fall.
For sure.
And if that becomes the euro or the Chinese yuan or whatever, well, that would be a very different looking Earth.
But the yuan isn't a tradable currency, right? So it doesn't have international value.
Right. Imagine a world where China suddenly is the preeminent investor in, say 100 developing world nations and is the sole, sponsor of government powered science and research development. These are all paths that the U.S. could diverge from in the near future.
But it's a controlled currency, so they can just decide how much it's worth, which seems like it wouldn't work the same way.
Right. But I'm just saying, what if they realize, certain liberalizations, certain policy changes could make us the dollar?
Yes.
Would they do it? I don't know. I'm not some old China hand.
Are you not?
From some 80s embassy telling you what the Chinese are like. But I know some. Like Mindy's dad is one of those guys.
He's Chinese?
No, he's one of these old embassy guys who's like, let me tell you.
Right,
let me tell you what the Chinese are really like. This is not what you'll hear from the news.
Was Mindy's dad in the CIA, do you think?
Foreign Service.
Well, does that mean CIA?
I think we may have had this conversation before, but the short version is he was actually a clean-cut Mormon guy in the Commerce Department and Foreign Service for 30 years, which in my experience, all those guys were CIA.
Right.
All those guys were intelligence. But he was so highly promoted. You know, he was the head U.S. consul, economic consul to our biggest trade partners, Ottawa, Beijing, Germany. So
Right.
I feel like it would be a weird deep cover situation.
Yeah, he actually had a job.
I now believe if he was spying during the Cold War, it must have been for the other side, because he got out and continued to insist he was not in the CIA, and not just all the time weirdly, but like when I asked, you were intelligence, right? He would just laugh. No. We always had a few of those idiots at the embassy, but
Yeah.
it wasn't me.
I knew an old man who had been a professor of Russian culture all through the 70s. And he traveled to Russia many times. And I was like, he was definitely a spy. But then I got to know him better. And I was like, he's too much of a ding-a-ling to be a spy.
Maybe that's the mistake though.
Oh.
Right? Like,
But I mean, he was really a ding-a-ling.
If spies are bigger doofuses than we think, like let's say they screwed up the intelligence on every major foreign policy thing for the last 30 years.
Let's say
they did.
Let's say, for instance, what a thought experiment.
So, but there's this weird thing where for us now at home, domestically, if I were to say dollar princesses, like, what are you picturing? I'm picturing like cheap birthday party stuff you get from Dollar General, you know, like.
Oh no, I was thinking of people like that did gender reveal parties where they hired like airplanes to fly over with blue or pink smoke.
I see. So they're acting like they're royalty, but they're really just kind of.
I mean, there are just so many people that just don't.
Influencer types.
They have more money than they know what to do, and they spend it on stupid stuff. But they're not super rich. You know, I read something the other day. Some comedian that said the only people that really hate the rich are the upper middle class, the children of the upper middle class. Everybody else is like either don't care or admire them.
Actively, like, oh boy.
It's just the children of the upper middle class that are like, eat the rich. And I think that's always been true.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, the children of the upper middle class are literally the only people I know, and they all hate the rich.
Right.
But maybe there's a bigger world out there.
But like Che Guevara was child of the upper middle class, and Mao and
so the term dollar princess comes from a time when it does not convey any kind of budget plasticness, although it kind of does, like in a different way.
This is an older term?
Yeah. We're going to go back all the way back, set the Wayback Machine to the 1870s.
You're kidding.
Your Wayback Machine does not go to the 1870s?
Well, it does, but it's, you know.
Your dial ends at
Actually, because this is a Wayback Machine from the Omnibus project, the 1870s are kind of worn off the dial.
There's no way those are the most worn numbers.
No.
It's got to be the 50s?
Well,
I don't know.
We do a lot of like 1812, and we seem to do a lot of 1890s.
Didn't somebody make this chart once? If you're the one who made this chart, we want to see the curve.
They made the one about the world.
Yeah, the geographic one.
But I'm not sure about the timeline one. But I bet you're right. It's all 1959.
They would do it on the FutureLink timeline where it's just a flat line throughout the Pleistocene and everything, and then there's a giant spike at the end of the Holocene, and then it goes back to flat. In the 1870s, the world is going through what was, I think, subsequently known as the Long Depression.
Yeah.
In the U.S., bracketed by the panics of whatever they are, 1870 something and 1890 something. What had happened was worldwide, the Industrial Revolution, which had seemed to promise for a brief time
equality and prosperity for all.
Yeah, like constant growth in the way that today CEOs are still promising this.
Yeah.
Had finally kind of crapped out, had hit some hard limits. And new innovation, maybe much like the digital revolution today, where they're just slapping AI into Zoom and Windows and telling us this is important. Some hard limits had been hit of like what technology, how much technology could power commerce.
What did we by 1877? We had all the railroads we ever needed. We had all of the steamships. We had
railroads and steamships are pretty important to this story because. For much of the early 19th century, the UK, Great Britain had the had instituted what were then called the Corn Laws, which is just a kind of a boring thing you might halfway remember from AP history. And if AP history does not exist in your era, the Corn Laws were just restrictions on the importation of foreign grain.
I thought we had corn laws that applied to omnibus here that were just trying to eradicate your tendency to
be corny?
To be corny.
Wow.
Aw.
Brutal.
Lol.
Those are shtick laws. I think, yeah.
I haven't rung the bell on myself.
I like how your attempted joke about corniness is maybe the corniest thing on the show in a while.
Afraid so.
Maybe corn laws are like, for those weirdos who eat corn on the cob horizontally like a typewriter.
Wait, how do you eat corn on the cob?
Vertically.
You just twist and then you move to the side and then twist and move to the side.
I'm going to go all the way around and then I'm going to go back.
What do you mean? You don't start at one end and go all the way and then turn it a little bit and go to... Is this two types of people?
I think we need to hear from listeners, like what percentage eat corn on the cob vertically versus horizontally.
This feels like a reason to go to the Facebook group Futurelings
and make a poll
and enjoy. People
are rushing right now to make that poll. There's going to be 6 identical corn polls.
They're like, pause the show.
6 identical corn polls. What a terrible thing to say. There had been we think of this era as a real, we're moving into the British Age of Empire, a real high point for British dominion of the world. And we don't often think about how much of that was also just an agricultural domination, purely agricultural. They had a series of good harvests for a big chunk of the Victorian era, and coupled with terrible overseas wars that left Russia not exporting grain due to Crimea and the U.S. not exporting grain due to the Civil War. And so Britain was like the breadbasket of Europe.
Wow.
And kind of unquestioned. Even though it was a historical blip, they were like, nope, this is it. We're the best at this, and it's going to fuel infinite expansion and growth forever. And then there was a double whammy, which you've already mentioned, railroad construction and the steam engine. The Homestead Act in the 1860s in the U.S. suddenly opened up vast swaths of prairie that turned out to be amazing for growing grain.
Till it stopped raining.
Right, because we were briefly in some kind of unusually cold...
This will last forever.
As long as we never need to irrigate this. And so suddenly there's a new breadbasket, baby.
Yeah.
And it's thousands of miles to the west. And
USA.
And so much railroad has been built that it's pretty easy to get all this grain milled into flour to worldwide markets.
That's why they built Minneapolis.
Otherwise, because at first they were like, should we build Minneapolis?
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, there's just not enough.
St. Paul, sure.
The crops in the corn laws, we can't build Minneapolis. And then the steam ships meant, I guess, steamships were a lot earlier. The first steamboat ever on the open ocean, I just looked this up, was in 1813. It was called the Experiment, which is a great name for a boat. If you're a sailor, would you book passage on the Experiment?
No, and not on an airplane called the Experiment either.
It left from Leeds, which is very funny since that's literally in the middle of Yorkshire. Yeah. It's literally in the dead center of the north.
Yeah.
But there must have been canals, I guess, that took it to the sea, and then it went down the coast to Yarmouth in Norfolk, and that was... successfully showed that the steamship could ply at least this little branch of the Atlantic.
I read a statistic the other day that showed the fuel consumption relative to tonnage carried by trucks, trains, and barges.
I can just imagine your eyes lighting up when you see what for anyone else is the worst thing on the page. The worst thing in The Economist that week, and you're like,
the first thing I thought was, can I get this as a poster? I would really like this data expanded, and I want it in a poster. But barges just like crush every other form of transporting goods. The problem is that in order to get a barge to Leeds or Minneapolis, it's a long, arduous journey.
Yeah, for the bargemen.
They get
cranky.
Although I think the Mississippi's just choked with barges.
Yeah.
Going all the way up.
I mean, even up here, you'll just see kind of barges plying Lake Washington or the Puget Sound on a sunny day, and you'll be like, well, that's a lot of gravel or backhoes or something.
Snake River barges up there.
What are they doing here? Unclear. But it's because they're cheap.
Right.
As your poster told you. We've got exciting news for any of our listeners who have joined us in trying HelloFresh meals.
Oh, HelloFresh. They're such a marvelous company. They provide such a wonderful service.
Chef-crafted recipes, fresh ingredients. I have never had anything I disliked from HelloFresh.
Nope. They're fun to make.
It's good stuff.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh, we should eat something good tonight. And then you're like, look at this.
But if you haven't tried HelloFresh lately, this is no longer your father's Oldsmobile.
Oh, lay it on me.
They have made big changes this summer. They've doubled their menu, which now means there's like 100 different menu options every week.
That's awesome.
Seasonal dishes, recipes from around the world.
Okay.
If you were ever annoyed that there wasn't enough food from the other side of the world.
Well, they did. They had a good selection, but you're saying there's twice as many options.
Twice as many. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
And it's a lot of healthier options too, like high protein recipes with more veggies. Like you can specifically choose recipes that have like 2 or more different vegetables.
What about bigger portions? I mean, not that I need them, but I've always felt like there are those times when I feel like a little extra might help.
Yeah, there's bigger portions on their bigger menu. So it's not just more options, it's more of it.
Oh, yeah.
And
they got steak, they got seafood. It's not just like chicken and pork.
3 times as much seafood on the menu as there used to be, and they haven't changed their prices at all.
Oh, what?
And
that's the crazy part.
It is.
Everything else is going up. Food prices
in this economy
going crazy.
Not HelloFresh though. And there's seasonal produce. Like, in late summer, you're going to get snap peas and stone fruit. Like, it's going to be great. 91% of customers say they feel healthier when they switch to HelloFresh.
That's awesome. Well, let me say that HelloFresh is the best way to cook. And the best way to cook sounds like just got better.
Oh, it got so much better. If you liked HelloFresh before, you are not ready for what they are about to unleash on your front porch and or delivery locker.
So go to HelloFresh.com/omnibus10FM.
Why is that?
That's 10 free meals and a free item for life. That's 1 per box, 1 free item for life per box with an active subscription.
That's a pretty good deal, John.
And it is. Free meals applied as discount on first box, new subscribers only, and it varies by plan.
But one more time, HelloFresh.com/omnibus10FM, and you'll get 10 free meals and a free item in every box per life.
Thanks, HelloFresh.
There were, the big innovation. This seems like the kind of thing you have said before on Omnibus 6 times, but I must have stopped listening, is that the big game changer was when the paddle wheel was replaced. The paddle wheel turns out to be a terrible way to get a steamship across the Atlantic. The screw propeller.
It's nice.
That's where it's at.
And you can really perfect a screw propeller. Like, there's only so much perfection of a paddle wheel.
Paddle wheel's already round.
You can monkey with a screw propeller. They're still doing it.
Yeah, the wheels on our cars today look,
they go round and round.
They're like the wheels on a Model T, but a screw propeller, boy.
Yeah.
There's no limit to the kinds of computer modeling you can do of you can make the quiet kind like the Red October had in the movie.
Well, that was technically some kind of pulsation.
Yeah, that's true. That's squirting water.
But I think during the Cold War, like, propeller shapes were very classified, protected. Like, if they pulled a boat out of the water, they'd cover it. I know I'm not supposed to say boat, but they'd cover it with a tarp so you couldn't see what the propeller looked like.
It seems like the MacGuffin of like some super old spy novel, like a Joseph Conrad story or a Sherlock Holmes story. Like, there's a new shape of propeller and the ministry needs us, the Admiralty needs us to protect it. The Admiralty. So suddenly it was cheap and easy to get all this new American grain over to the UK. Prices didn't plummet immediately, but once it took hold, like in the 1830s, 2% of all British flour was good old domestic wheat. And by 1914, by World War I, they were importing 80% of their.
Wow.
So it went from 2% to 80%.
Because American wheat builds muscle.
Oh, yeah. It builds bodies in 10 different ways. And they just didn't know that.
No, they had that cheap British grain.
Those anemic British invalids were like, why isn't this nourishing my 11 children?
Is this some part of does this play a role in the potato famine too? Was this a thing where Ireland was exporting all their grain and
1830s? Yeah.
The only thing they had left to eat was rocks?
Yes, right.
Which
There's
is why the Irish are so
they had to.
delightful.
Potatoes were the most were the most lucrative on the overseas market. So everybody switched to potatoes, and then once the monocrop went, nobody was planting wheat or corn anymore. Is that right? That seems right.
Yeah.
We're on the side of the Irish here.
As Welsh people, we don't know the story.
we would be for the Irish if we could read. That's the Welsh.
We were busy eating coal.
Those lucky Irish with their potatoes or absence thereof. So as you can imagine, this was a huge generational change in the UK during the Victorian era to go from breadbasket to the world to basically a tariffs, a free trade situation that really backfired on them.
Right.
So I guess this is now a pro-tariff podcast.
And yeah.
Speaking of the end of the dollar.
And all of their colonial empire couldn't be marshaled to be their new breadbasket?
I guess I hadn't thought about that, but I guess where would you grow wheat and corn? Like big chunks of India are not so good for that.
What about their African?
You can get your rice there, I guess.
Rice, but isn't that what Kenya is all about? Kenya.
You think
Uganda?
you don't have to say that in the most imperialist way.
Kenya.
They used to say Kenya, right?
Kenya.
That's how the colonists would have said. That's the settlers would have said.
When my kid earlier this year was learning every country of the world and memorizing them and their
was this for school or just
for school.
She's
she's a nerd, but she really enjoyed it, which I don't think all the kids did. But she was learning their contemporary GDP, their colonial history, their capital cities, and their majority language and religion. And so we were working on Africa, and every time she was talking about a British colony, I would pronounce the name in the Admiralty fashion, Uganda. And she was extremely offended by it. But I was doing it because when it came time for the test, she would at least be able to remember which ones were British colonies.
That's right.
Without even having to think about it.
If you just remember Algeria in a French accent and Mozambique in a Portuguese accent, go.
Mozambique in a Portuguese accent?
Yeah, that was good.
Mozambique.
That did sound a lot like the French accent.
Well, Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly.
Mozambique.
They're both Romance languages.
They're rougher. The Portuguese are rougher than the Spanish, in a good way.
So the British countryside, which had once been the kind of the most efficient, perfected agricultural machine in the world, was just decimated. Tens of thousands of farm laborers had to move into the cities because prices had just plummeted. Nobody could sell their grain at a price that would compete with the cheap American grain flowing in.
Shoegaze music. It was just a dark time.
And that's when the Manchester explosion happened. No, it was a mere 100 years away. But in addition to these poor dusty souls, the real victims, as always, were the millionaires.
Yes.
Or millionaires.
Yes.
As they would have been saying over in Chicago at the time.
Once again, compatible with Marxism.
Taking it on the chin. Our story will leave the poor laborers fleeing to the cities for factory jobs, and we will stick with the real protagonists of history, the landed aristocracy.
Did they all start investing in ice?
That's what they should have done, right? All this could have been averted. If any economy can be saved if you'll pivot to ice.
Pivot to ice.
Pivot to ice.
American ice.
America needs to pivot away from ice, in my opinion.
Yes.
But so at some point, pretty much every millionaire in Great Britain at the time was one of these landed aristocrats.
Sure.
And
a duke or a viscount.
By the end of this long agricultural depression, they had all lost so much money that basically the country was run by the manufacturers.
Oh,
every uber wealthy Britain was now running some kind of a petrolatum concern.
And who were their families? Who did they know? Nobody. This is
I've been reading these novels by Anthony Trollope. He's like a contemporary of Dickens. Right. But unlike Dickens, he doesn't really care. He cares a lot less about, kind of these quasi-Gothic melodramas that are at the heart of Great Expectations and
right.
And
does he care about the poor?
Escaped. Well, Dickens was kind of the poster child of that.
Yeah.
And I think Trollope kind of makes fun of him. At one point, he has a character who's like Dickens, who everybody is like, oh, this guy's a friend of the poor. But Trollope's a little more cynical. All his stories are kind of about very tiny, petty countryside disputes, like, is the bishop of whatever, or is the rector of whatever getting too much money from the bishop? And do we need to write a letter to the paper? Or like seriously, there are whole novels about like who lost this 20-pound check that is leading some poor vicar to be led to the assizes, or should the vicar of whatever have signed a promissory note so he could buy a better fox hunting horse? Should a vicar even be fox hunting? Like, these are the kinds of little petty disputes that power all these novels. So they've aged really well, because this is also, this kind of stuff is timeless.
Well, and this is what British television always seems to me to be about, right? All these like episodic detective things where it's like, well, this, a boy went missing.
The smallest stakes possible.
Yeah.
I think one of these Barsetshire novels has been turned into a kind of a multi-part Julian Fellows thing, but they also have Jane Austen, kind of late Jane Austen style romances, like will the poor girl marry the landed the heir to the estate.
Sure, he seems aloof at first.
Exactly, but in all these books, there's this kind of all the big moneyed characters tend to be, the local duke of whatever. Except for there start to be later in the books an influx of wealthy men, and especially women, who have inherited some very specific and therefore comic industrial concern.
Right.
They're
making broom.
Yeah, they're making oil exactly. A fortune that comes from brooms or from oil of peppermint.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
And are they portrayed as crass?
No, Trollope's very open-hearted to all his characters. He often seems kind of conservative-coded because he often points out the hypocrisy of his Whig politicians. But I think in real life, he was actually quite progressive. He just likes...
Like me.
Poking fun at everybody.
Extremely progressive, but poking fun of Whigs.
And he didn't get in as much trouble as you, though. So maybe study the Barsetshire novels.
Okay. Oh, good.
So there's this tension where for the first time, there are moneyed people who have these and they seem at the time to be very, it's respectable to have money from all your forests and your pastures.
Oh,
but like to have money from brooms, it seems a little bit silly and dumb.
Yeah.
There's a railroad tycoon at one point, and that's real money. The Trollope points out that this guy actually out-earns all the other characters in the book put together just because he built one railroad at the right time. But it's their heirs who are kind of interesting, because he's not interested in the business side. He's interested in the people at the parties who have access to the money.
The dollar princesses.
Yeah, well, this is what's going to happen, because these are not all pound sterling princesses. There are going to be Americans in the mix. A lot of this is also the result of the Prince of Wales, who is the future Edward VII, Victoria's son, oldest son, surviving son, I guess, who is... he's an open mind. He's a man of the future. He's open to these industrialists. He doesn't elbow out the nouveau riche. He invites them to things.
He's got a mustache.
For sure, he has a mustache. He's probably Jack the Ripper. No, that's his brother. But he's also open to these U.S. bourgeois elites who, after the Civil War, are increasingly traveling to Europe and to Great Britain to see all the great sights.
And as Americans, they're all captivated by aristocracy and totally want to be friends with dukes.
I wonder if it has something to do with our doomed attempt at that, the Southern oligarchy, the plantation system falling. Suddenly there's, the last kind of old world the closest old world respectability would be the UK and then mainland Europe. And so that's where you go for that kind of gentility.
I would think and did think that I was completely immune to that. And then a few times over the course of my life, I've met minor nobility. And every time I was just fascinated and thrilled and like, oh my God, they're so beautiful.
Well, you have so many questions,
yeah,
right?
Like, look how elegant they are, just swanning around. And like, they also just seem so, I don't know, smug, but you want them to be. You want to give it to them. And then I would look at myself and go, what is the matter with you? Like, you don't get swept off your feet by celebrities. Why would you feel this way about some 24-year-old son of a German
just
nobody?
Like a celebrity, except they didn't do anything.
Right. They're just so beautiful and so entitled that you go, neat, and for me, I'm just thinking like, I don't even know where they rank. The Germans don't even have an aristocracy anymore. And yet here are these people with these big houses and they never have to work. Or they do. They all go into banking or some other.
But are they really in the office that many hours?
No.
Is that what appeals to you? Like, these guys all just have a place on Lake Como.
Well, no. I don't know what it is. It's just the magic of.
They're probably well dressed. I bet that appeals to you.
Well, they're always fit and tan.
Lots of time for the beach and the gym.
Right. Great skiers. They're great. Their clothes look great. I mean, they just look like. I was thinking about this the other day. If you had $500 million, if it just came to you, like, for instance, as the host of Jeopardy, which it may.
I think he would be very overpaid in that case.
Oh, he?
That's not even, or she. That's not even Ryan Seacrest money.
But if you had a ton of money, I think you would find that everything you had always dreamt of, all this stuff where you're like, now I'm a member of this global group of people on Lake Como, I think you would get there and find that they were not receptive to you, and you would never be,
because it was so sudden.
Well, and you just didn't have the manners, and you didn't know how to ski that well, and you weren't quite as tan and fit, and you would just. I'm speaking for myself. I think I realized I'm a middle class person, and I like the way middle class people talk and act and are.
So it wouldn't just be them rejecting you. You would actually be bored at those parties.
I just wouldn't even, I would just, I wouldn't understand what we were talking about, and I wouldn't like the way people looked at me, and I'd want some better wit, or at least some, the wit of people that don't have everything.
Exactly. Well, I secretly suspect that I'm pretty boring. So maybe I need to be with those boring people, right? Invite me on your mega yacht.
I think you are less boring than you read.
I don't know.
You do read as boring.
Thank you.
But you are pretty interesting.
I don't know. There's just, it's like my great fear that I'm in the middle of a conversation and I'm like, not only do I have nothing to say here, I have nothing to think. I'm just a vast, empty tundra.
I corner people at parties and talk about barges.
I would like to look at the sunlight dappling through the leaves right now and not have to think about barges.
Yeah.
But I think you're, exactly. You're probably too interesting for the Riviera.
Is there an amount of dull that then becomes interesting? If you put enough dull together?
Maybe if they're hot.
Right.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, this person there's something about them. I can't tell what it is. Oh, I know what it is. They're very attractive.
They're hot, yeah. And I know I'm not hot and will never be hot enough to be interesting.
Oh,
you're being hot.
You're going to get letters now. So with this combination of things, this influx of new American money and collapsing British aristocracy means that there's a new trade imbalance that has cropped up, and that
favors America.
And it's the wife industry. There are
we have more wives.
We have more moneyed wives,
rich wives,
and they have more single men with leaky roofs on their castle.
Single men with like the Order of the Scarlet Garter, but a title, but no money.
Incredible titles that would be so tempting, especially if you're a young lady, for your upwardly mobile parents back home in Boston or Chicago or the South. You could be a countess. Why not? You could be a duchess even.
This feels like it still plays in the royal family story, even into the present day.
Like Meghan Markle, Dollar Princess Meghan Markle?
Well, no, the future queen was just a middle-class gal who went to a good school and was pretty cute.
But luckily not an American. The thing that all this new money has coming in is it's not us.
Oh, right.
It's not, Will's wife is she's a prototypical English rose, just like his mom was.
This calls it an abdication, not in our lifetime, but
that's right.
My father's.
That's right. And so it's not just a series of incidents. In this era, we can list at least 454 U.S. women who married into titled European families.
That many?
Yeah, it's literally It's literally a flood
Wow.
of heiresses.
Good for us.
And mostly the UK. Between 1870 and 1914, you can profile 102 women, mostly from New York, but really from all the industrial centers and agricultural centers, who married British peers or their weak-chinned sons.
Mainline Philadelphians.
Yeah, and the best daughters of all these places. The phrase dollar princesses or dollar duchesses, as they sometimes were called, because they were not literally princesses, but some were duchesses. It was coined as a literary device because as ubiquitous as this was in reality, you also could not avoid it in any popular or romantic or even literary fiction of the era.
And because it was so prevalent, you could invent a fictional character.
That's right.
That had some of these traits, and nobody could quite.
Yeah, they were clearly pastiches. When Henry James or Edith Wharton writes about these women, they are clearly pastiches. And that right up to the present day, Downton Abbey has the Elizabeth McGovern part. There's an American wife for a declining. What's Lord Grantham? Is he a duke? I don't know. Whatever he is, who knows? But it's the same device. An American wife named Cora, who, as we will see, is like based on a real person to some degree. We believe
The children are our future.
and also that free trade is generally a good that lifts all boats, right? That's long been the bedrock of,
I mean, that's Clinton.
of Western economic,
Clintonian Democrats.
neoliberal thought is that free trade is it's a, what's the word? It's a panacea. It fixes everything. Trade restrictions are all bad. In this case, though, everybody on every side of the divide hates these women.
Really?
Yes. The dollar princess phenomenon is decried on both sides of the Atlantic.
Because it seems money grubbing and class grubbing.
Yes. What the objections have in common is that they're misogynistic, but in the U.S., the objection, as you can imagine, is, the finest girls of Philadelphia are basically being sold, and not just sold, but they're the rich ones. They're being sold for something valueless, a cheap British title,
right,
that we as Americans shouldn't care about. Why did we fight a war if not to rid ourselves of the obsession with these awful aristocrats and their hidebound class
right.
system?
Our princesses with their jet black hair are marrying these puffy middle-aged blobs.
Yeah, the girls are depicted as overly, and their mothers, and their scheming mothers who are arranging these marriages are painted as ambitious and unprincipled. And then people start to actually write about, concern trolling about the economic effect while all the money's leaving the country. All these fortunes, if the heirs to Marshall Field are all taking their money to Surrey and Essex.
Right.
Is that going to actually have an effect on the economy? And this reached the highest levels of government. President Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, writes to the U.S. ambassador to the UK this kind of panicky screed about how, I'm thoroughly disgusted every time I read about the sale of a girl. The language of prostitution is used throughout. So this is something that's... And then the problem for these poor girls moving to the UK is they hate them in Britain as well. For all the reasons you would expect.
Right.
They're
social climbers.
They're social climbers, yeah. And they're nouveau riche, all these people whose money goes back to the Norman Conquest or at least to the Wars of the Roses are envious and resentful. The women are called, in addition to dollar princesses, they're called buccaneers. That's the title of the Edith Wharton novel on the subject, which I think now is The Dollar Princess is very much in vogue. There's an Apple TV Plus adaptation of the Buccaneers in which the women are these impossibly beautifully well-dressed, multiracial Americans sneaking into drawing rooms, and everybody hates them. But the Buccaneer language was real. Like the British thought of them as piratical schemers, climbing on board, climbing above decks.
Right.
And taking what was not theirs.
Because the perception of ownership of an old pile and land that no longer produced wealth was that was worth more than money.
Exactly. How could you sell such a thing? This is your family honor.
Right.
And yet here come these, ruthless calculating women and their moms. And
even though the water
there goes
is
that
dripping
tradition.
down onto the Gainsbourg.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, the language of sex work is used. The British papers refer to these as gilded prostitutes.
Yikes.
I know, right?
But they're being prostituted by their American mothers.
Right. And let's allow them some agency,
Right. They're also wanting a castle for themselves.
As we're going to see, every case is different. But the British press, once they got over there, they probably expected a delightful social world. They thought that's what they were buying into. And instead they get the papers yelling at them, people shunning them at parties. They're called a strange and abnormal creature in editorials. The concern trolling on that side of the Atlantic is not, oh no, we're losing our money like it is in the American papers. But in the UK, it's like, this is going to lower our birth rate.
Huh?
These piratical independent women are not like the good homey mothers
they're not going to have
England.
kids, I see.
They're not going to have the big families that...
let me ask, as someone who is an Anglophile, as you are,
Sure.
who aspires to spend more time in London, not less.
Yeah, I think we'd like to do that.
Is there an appeal to you of, say, for instance, owning a little castle?
I've never been one of those guys.
You don't want to have a country home.
Well, I think it just all seems a little bit doomed because I do have the image. The image I have is not of the beautiful estate. I imagine the rain coming down into the upstairs bedroom.
But a Mayfair townhouse wouldn't appall you.
If somebody were to give me is somebody listening right now that wants to just gift me a Mayfair
You never
townhouse?
know. Last year or 2 years ago or whenever it was, I asked people to send me Bitcoin, and only one person did.
All I need is one person to send me a Mayfair townhouse. I only need
true.
one. I want the improbably lavish 4-story townhouse they have in the Paddington movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that guy does for a living, but somehow he's got a bunch of kids and this amazing Mary Poppins house.
What's weird is they're so plain on the outside by our standards. You kind of walk down those streets and you're like, yep, another boring. And then you realize, oh my God, they have 14-foot ceilings. Those are floor-to-ceiling windows. Like, those places are incredible.
I don't even know what mullions are, but we have them. I have a friend who's a writer, and she and her husband live outside London. She showed me a picture of where they live, and it looks like Downton Abbey. It's this amazing estate, but it's actually been what do you call it? Subdivided into apartments.
Right.
I'm like, so which part of this old castle, Captain Haddock Castle, do you live in? And they're like, well, on this side, only this window is ours. And they point to one window. On the back, we have more light, but
we did that here in Seattle, repurposing old high schools and churches. Right? There's that church on Capitol Hill that is actually 10 apartments and everybody gets part of a stained glass window. And then Queen Anne High School is turned into 50 apartments. And they all have a blackboard.
Queen Anne High School and they kept the blackboards.
Yeah. Have you Queen Anne High School, it sits up there so proudly you can see it from every neighborhood in town.
Yeah, but I guess I thought it was a high school.
No, it's been
apartments forever.
It's been apartments since the 80s, I think.
I like that school in Portland they turned into whatever that performing arts center is up in Alberta.
McMinimans, they do that.
It probably is a McMinimans.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time. But the halls are still lined with lockers and it's still got the school colors and the cases where the trophies were.
McMinimans is famous for that. They're like, oh, did this used to be a nunnery? We're turning it into a bar.
They actually tried to do that to that seminary out in Juanita.
Kenmore.
Yeah, that's right. But they didn't, so they had to settle for Bothell.
Wah, wah.
Take that, McMinimans. So there's the stereotypes that you're going to imagine here about these unhappy young girls forced by shrewish parents into loveless marriages.
I think of them as having flapper haircuts, but this is too early for that, right? They all have big piles of hair and like dresses that have very narrow waists.
Yes, they all look like Sargent portraits. And in fact, the reason why I wanted to do this show is because I went to an exhibit of John Singer Sargent oil paintings and charcoal drawings of some of these women.
Cool.
And I was really fascinated by the story. The exhibit opened. It was in London. It was out past Hampstead Heath in Kenwood House, which is an old, again, one of these old piles, which had really a very successful art collector. So they have a Vermeer for some reason.
Oh, nice.
It's now part of the whatever the English heritage system is. But the exhibit started with this quote from an American poet and educator named Hilda Smith, who said, when women are lumped together as a unit, while men are studied both as individuals and members of groups, historians come to view men as historical actors and women as a group which merely reacts to historical events. Mm-hmm. And I think that had never occurred to me that, of course, these new histories should touch on the previously ignored, what were women doing? What were people of color doing in these times? But so often then you get named white men doing stuff. And then you get, and here's the reactions of the effects on the groups.
Right.
So it's
the millionaire and his wife.
That's right. You get them. Do you remember her name? I don't even know. Lovey.
Yeah.
I believe her name is Lovey. We all know Thurston Howell III, but what's Lovey's name?
Lovey Howell.
This is the worst example of this historical trend that we deploy. And so to push back on this, the exhibit had actually focused on the dollar princesses as individuals.
Oh, and everybody's got a completely different story that cannot be agglomerated.
That's kind of true. And some of them are the stereotype. Like, there's probably nobody who is more of a dollar princess, an unhappy dollar princess than Consuelo Vanderbilt, heir to the Vanderbilt Railroad fortune.
Familiar with her story.
I'm actually not. In fact, if you had asked me what year was the first famous Consuelo born, I don't know if I would have known it was before the Civil War. She was called the Little Duchess because she actually married Charles Spencer Churchill, the 9th Duke of Marlborough.
And that's why I'm familiar with her story.
First cousin of Winston Churchill.
Yeah, and it begins an era of the Churchills having American blood. American blood.
And I'm sure that affected Churchill because the last time, we did American Millionaires on this show a month ago. We now do most of our shows about millionaires.
Checks out.
You and I are doing well. And we mentioned that Churchill had spent a lot of time between the wars in the U.S. He liked it there.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's because he had in-laws now.
Look, America's groovy. I don't care what anybody says.
Our castles are not collapsing because we built them all in Newport in the Gilded Age.
Right. That's right. Those are pretty nice. I was thinking about the castles that people have built around here, which were made out of staples.
Yes.
And they're all falling apart.
Good. John, I have to assume that a lot of our listeners are go-getters who have started their own business.
Right. The ones that aren't librarians or ichthyologists.
Or Air Force colonels.
Or long-distance truck drivers. But even those can be entrepreneurs.
Yeah. They've probably got grind set,
they're all
hustle,
yeah,
whatever.
They're all small business people.
They're probably all podcasters, if nothing else.
Right.
And growing your business is tricky.
It's hard.
Right?
It's hard.
Everyone will give you different advice. You don't really know what's right for your own business. Marketing is tricky. Who has the time for that?
But I mean, starting your own business is a great adventure, right? And people do succeed and you want to succeed because the advantage of working for yourself, I mean, they're numerable. You can't put a price on getting up in the morning and going to work for yourself.
I think John and I have talked about how we would never be able to go back to an office job just because, once you've had a taste of some kind of more freelance life, you don't want a boss telling you what to do.
But here's the thing about starting your own business. You want to do that business. You don't want to be on social media all day trying to drum up customers. You don't want to be out in the street with a sign shaped like a giant arrow going.
And a megaphone.
Yeah, come into my business. How do you find customers?
You could either hire one of those sign spinner guys.
Yeah.
But they're all on meth.
Right.
Or you could try constant contact. Do you know what that is, John?
Well, it's like a marketing team, right?
Yeah, it's like an all-in-one marketing platform that pretty much is one-stop shopping for everything you need. Manage your emails, texts, social media, in-person events. They have an AI content generator if you're okay with that, so that you can, tailor your message for different platforms.
But you don't have to use the AI if you're against it.
No, who's going to make you use AI? Maybe Google, but...
One thing I've realized over the course of my adulthood is that marketing and branding are actual skills, professional skills that I do not have. And one of the mistakes you make as a business person is thinking, oh, marketing, how hard is that? I just tell the story of my thing. But it's actually a real skill set to reach people.
The great thing about Constant Contact is that pricing is transparent and it's just based on how many contacts you're reaching. So you just pay for the services you need. 97% of their emails are deliverable, so you don't have to worry about just going to spam when you're marketing your business. You're actually going to reach those people. So it's automated sending, real-time reporting. It's tools so you can see how everything's going. You will grow your business with marketing expertise you did not know you had.
And they'll actually help you turn a rough idea into like a coherent and cohesive message, won't they?
Coherent and cohesive?
Coherent
in this
and
economy?
cohesive, which are two things that I really lack, both coherence and cohesion.
I don't even know the difference between them. So that's one thing I respect about Constant Contact.
Another thing I already know about them is that they give you friendly phone support, and it's included with every plan. It's not like some kind of thing where they'll bully you.
You're not splashing on your own. 500,000 small businesses trust Constant Contact to stay ahead of the competition. And if you are finding marketing challenges in your own business, I think you should try it. If I was starting out a new business, this is what I would do, because I'm with you, John. I do not want to market.
No. It's very, very hard. And here's what we should let our friends in on.
Should we do this? Should we let the cat out of the bag?
I think we should.
Because I was kind of thinking maybe we could just keep this deal for you and me.
No. Although we should take advantage of it, but we should let our friends in on it too. And that is a free 30-day trial.
Wow.
When you go to constantcontact.com.
See if it's right for you. Just try Constant Contact free for 30 days at constantcontact.com.
Now think about that. 30 days. That should give you a pretty good idea how confident they are in their product.
And how coherent and how cohesive your business becomes with
constant, coherent, cohesive contact at constantcontact.com.
Consuelo Vanderbilt later wrote a book about her travail, so we know her side of the story. And apparently, Winston Churchill's cousin was no catch. He didn't love her, didn't even like her, told her on their honeymoon that he had only married her to save Blenheim, that they were going to lose the family, the Churchill family, the Marlborough family palace.
That seems like Charles telling Diana that he's really in love with his weird old school chum.
What would you rather hear on your honeymoon? That your husband is actually still in love with some odd-looking woman from his past, or
he
only married you for your money?
I feel like if you have money and you know that really early on, before he's actually had any of your money, that there are many lawyers and trusts and she would have her father's lawyers, that she could then thwart her money-grubbing husband.
But I wonder if that defeats the purpose. If the family purpose is to sell the fortune to this guy,
to inherit Blenheim,
because then they can tell everybody that their daughter lives at Blenheim. Maybe that's a feature and not a bug for them.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure.
Maybe she can then start having affairs with the Gardners.
They were married in 1895 and basically had a loveless marriage that lasted till 1921. Like after about a decade, they were effectively separated. I'm sure she was, in Baden-Baden half the year or whatever it took to get away from your awful Duke husband.
But 40 years or close to 40 years, they remained married.
No, 26. Oh. Am I doing that right? 26 years.
1880 what?
1895 to 1921.
I'm sorry.
So that's the stereotype, that these poor women basically were trafficked into these awful marriages and big, gloomy, empty rooms.
Poor, not in money, but in
poor little
fortune.
Rich girls. I think that was that was coined later, right? Those were the heiresses in the celebrity era of the 20th century. Those were the heiresses that Life magazine made us feel sorry for. But these were poor little rich girls for sure, in a different vein. And think about it. They were a world away. So they were lonely. To see their family required a long ocean voyage and a husband who would let you get away with it.
And no friends in their social group of snorting English aristocrats.
I think just going to parties and constantly being tittered at by all the dowagers.
It's a real Cinderella story.
Yes. But in fact, the stereotype is not always correct. Many of these women were actually not just sought after because they were beautiful and or rich, but many of them were glamorous and had many suitors. At the time, the average young American debutante, ingenue type, was much more educated and confident and modern in a way than their English equivalents.
Right. All the more reason they would be rejected by
Exactly.
English women.
Exactly. But, in the press, with the public, they kind of rose to the level of celebrity because they were active and interesting. And many of the husbands kind of preferred a fun wife at parties as we moved into this era where, the Gilded Age modernism is beginning. The automobile is just a few decades away or as we get to automobile and you're going to have you want lively, fun women at your lively, fun parties.
You certainly have a lively, fun wife at your parties.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. That's the main thing we think of in our 50s is our lively youth. I don't think we were even lively and young when we were lively and young, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, Mindy hides her light under a bushel in order not to overshadow you.
It's considerate of her.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. She's like, she puts on a sort of dowdy hat.
Dowdy hat.
And everybody's like, huh.
Scuffs up her face with cinders from the fire.
But still, you can see the electricity.
Some of the other women were not just kind of sad failed marriages in the Consuelo Vanderbilt vein. The Leiter sisters were the hit of London because all three of these young things married British peers.
Cool.
Or heirs. Each more glamorous than the next.
Was it one where the eldest sister married the highest ranking heir, or was it the opposite where they kept growing in wealth and power and the youngest sister became the
that's a good question.
Most aristocratic.
What was the order? Let's see.
Because everything in the peerage is based on...
It is, in fact, the youngest of the three daughters who marries the earl and becomes a countess. Yeah. She was the real... They were all three heirs to... I guess Leiter had been the partner of Marshall Field, the founder of the Chicago department store. So this was big Chicago money. And the youngest daughter, who's beautifully painted by Sargent...
She's not Madam X.
She is not, but she has the vibe for sure.
Yeah, Madam X vibe.
She marries the 19th Earl of Suffolk, and she is incredibly happy and fulfilled.
Oh, well.
By all appearances. She gets really into fox hunting.
The best.
Out on her husband's country estate.
No one in the UK is against fox hunting.
No, that's... what could be more fun? What could be more fun of an afternoon? And she also, I think, sees the, kind of the new rural poverty of this post-agricultural era. And she kind of spearheads bringing back some traditional artisanal industries back to the countryside. She brings lace making back to her husband's earldom or whatever you call it.
So you're saying that Art Nouveau might have its generation in an American kind of like, let's bring back mud shaping.
It is nice to imagine. Yeah, they are. Maybe the English arts and crafts movement is kind of informed by these outsiders. And then later in life, she actually becomes kind of a thrill seeker. In the age of the automobile, she's always driving the fastest cars and even becomes a helicopter pilot.
What?
Which is a twist ending for any of these. You don't imagine anybody in a John Singer Sargent painting
ever being in a helicopter,
much less piloting one, right? The antecedent for Cora, whatever her name is on Downton Abbey, the Elizabeth McGovern character, is actually a Southern woman, Cora Colgate, actually Cora Smith, but married into a toothpaste fortune. She married... I want to say Samuel. See this? It's funny even to us, right? That you could be the most powerful American because of toothpaste or oven cleaner or whatever it was.
Well, and it's funny that some of these people are wealthy and aren't even the name on the masthead.
Exactly. The Leiters are not Marshall Field, but they have as much money as Mr. Field.
They're the Balmers.
Cora Colgate is lucky in that I think she's unhappily married to Mr. Colgate, but then he dies considerately, leaving her $10 million. And she is a Louisiana, kind of a straight-talking Louisiana girl. So a sweet Southern belle, but full of both gentility and directness, and of course $10 million, all of which appeal to the 4th Earl of Stafford. And she's kind of there's some evidence that she's a figure of fun. She I think this is true. She was wearing her coronet sideways accidentally at Edward VIII's coronation. So she makes the papers for a kind of goof that only an American rube, I think, is implied, would make. But in fact, she was kind of a famous wit. And I read a letter she wrote to Noel Coward. She goes to a preview or an early performance of his hit Cavalcade on the West End, and actually writes to him with some suggestions. She's like, the staging of this one scene change is actually going badly. What you want is a moment of silence. Please forgive me for speaking out. So this is like the kind of, she's not some dumb cluck at all. She's giving dramaturgical advice to Noel Coward.
But that's a very American thing to
think you can do.
Yeah.
But on some level, it must have been appealing to these guys. Maybe it's a double-edged sword, but like, look how everyone loves how funny and lively she is at parties, and she has ideas on like all the girls my brother's married. And
well, it's still true. I mean, in my interaction with people in the UK, like I went to tour the World War I battlefields once with a prominent Brit, and we arrived at a battlefield in France at sort of dusk, and it was closed. And to indicate it was closed, they pulled one droopy chain across.
I've been to a lot of these Belgian spots.
It was just like
they have cool old stuff, but they're a little dusty.
Yeah, one droopy chain, and we're in the middle of nowhere, right? It's a battlefield. There's nothing around, and so we pull up, and my friend is like, "Oh dear, we've missed it," and I'm like, "Well, we're here. Let's at least get out of the car." So we get out of the car, and I step over the chain because I'm an American, I guess, and walk in, and I'm like, it's still light. There's no one here.
You're not just an American. You're also you.
Yeah.
You have never met a
droopy chain,
a gate that would, you'll just wander in and be like, yeah, I'm probably allowed to. Like that time you just wandered onto the Jeopardy soundstage and I couldn't find you because you'd already been apprehended by the lot security.
I mean, apprehended is a little bit strong.
Chatted with.
But so I get all the way, because what are we going to do? Are we going to hurt a trench? I get all the way into the thing, and I'm talking to my friend. Oh yeah, well, as you know, because he's also a World War I buff, and I'm like, well, and they came over this, and I turn around, and he's still standing at the chain. Now, 100 yards. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's closed.
One mustn't.
And I said, step over the chain. And it was just like, as he stepped over the chain, it was like he had entered into some kind of like.
Does his face light up?
I mean, well, he heard alarms, I guess, in his head. But then as he got closer to the trench, he was just like, oh, was so bad. This is just so bad.
It's like when the dad in Mary Poppins gets to fly a kite.
Right.
He's suddenly
he's like, wow.
He's suddenly a boy again.
And I think it definitely felt like a cultural exchange. And maybe you're right. Maybe there's something about our personalities that plays into it. But it did feel like an American doing American things, which is trying doorknobs.
Right.
And a moth just flew in.
I don't think anyone can hear it though. You could have just, in an audio format, you could have just ignored the moth.
I know, but how could we ignore this moth?
Well, plus he's probably eating all your
I know
cardigans.
This is a bad moth.
It's big.
It's not one of the good moths. Come over here. Come on.
Missed.
All right, anyway.
I'll do the play-by-play. Got it.
I got it.
Did it fall in your water? No, he's back.
Oh.
He's back but injured.
You little bastard.
If you want to finish him off, he's right next to the cup with the pencils in it. He's to your left.
Okay, I see him.
This is the animal rights people.
He's under the cup.
Okay, there we go.
Do now?
He's been trapped. Trapped but alive. If you were concerned at home.
Yeah, and I'll set him free later.
Exactly. By the way, when I told that story about you just kind of wandering onto the Jeopardy stage because a door had been left ajar.
Yeah.
I got a letter from somebody who was like, I've been in the music industry here for a long time, and I can confirm that anytime you can't find John Roderick, he is actually not outside the building where he's supposed to be. He is in the sound booth.
Oh, this is something that's happened before?
Apparently no one was surprised.
Oh, I see.
That you had wandered off the reservation. And apparently you're famous for it even among Belgian battlefield owners.
I mean, the main door was locked. What am I going to do? Stand there?
Luckily, there was a side door. There was a single droopy chain. The good news for Cora Colgate is not just that the Downton Abbey character is based on her, but after just 5 months of unhappy marriage to her second husband, he mysteriously steps in front of a train, not far from their country home.
Does there seem to be malfeasance? Does it seem like...
The mystery is unsolved to this day, but like this was interesting enough to, at no other point in the story has anyone stepped in front of a train.
Right.
So I really drilled down, and I guess there are eyewitnesses accounts of him appearing to step in front of a train. And
intentionally?
Well, that's what you would think, although because he was said to have suffered from catalepsy, the coroner came back with death by misadventure. Clearly this was an accident. But that does seem like they're protecting the reputation of is he an earl? Who's our guy here? Yes, he's the Earl of Stafford.
Aristocrats are famously dotty. Did he just dotter onto the tracks?
Was he so inbred that he didn't know if the train was coming or going?
Isn't there a train around here? So I'm like,
had his monocle fallen in front of his nose? We may never know. But anyway, Britain's loss was definitely Cora's gain. She was much happier after her drip of a marriage.
Now rich and landed and titled? Does that mean her children are titled? They are.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that this was a time when that was not a problem.
Pretty rad.
The most famous of the $1 million princesses, as they were called, was Nancy Langhorne, who became so well known that we actually know her by her married name of Nancy Astor.
And were her children, was any of them Foghorn?
Langhorne.
Oh, Langhorne.
She was married to Fonghorn Langhorne, I think. No, actually, she was married to a Boston socialite, maybe one of the leading Gilded Age party boys of his day, Robert Gould Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the name sounds familiar, and so I assumed it was the Robert Gould Shaw I had heard of. In fact, this was the cousin of Robert Gould Shaw, also named Robert Gould Shaw.
Oh.
Robert Gould Shaw is best known for leading that all-black Massachusetts regiment during
that's the famous
Civil
Robert
War.
Gould Shaw.
To us, that's the famous one because Matthew Broderick plays him in Glory. I think at the time, this Boston socialite might have been the more famous Robert Gould Shaw, even though there's not a memorial to him anywhere.
So now, wait, you're saying that the aristocrat in this story is a woman?
No, she was married to this guy, this American. The unhappy marriage ended in divorce.
Oh.
Parenthetically, his cousin is a Civil War hero, but that does not enter into the story. But then she marries Waldorf Astor. Is there a more aristocratic name than Waldorf Astor? The Waldorf Astoria Hotel was just named for this guy, apparently. I don't know. No, that can't be because there was a Waldorf and an Astoria, right?
Right.
But they were probably both family names, probably owned by the same family. In 1908, from 1908 on, he's a member of Parliament. But in 1919, his political career hits a hiccup when I think his father dies and he becomes Viscount. And if you're a Viscount, you cannot be in the House of Commons. Right. So he loses his seat. And this is where the story takes an astonishing turn for 1919.
Gain a seat in the House of Lords automatically?
Yeah, you're not losing a daughter. You're not losing a commoner. You're gaining a lord. But anyway, a seat is left vacant in his writing. I don't know their stupid names.
Oh no, I can see where this is going.
And even though a woman has never served in Parliament, the former Nancy Langhorne Shaw, now Nancy Astor, stands for his seat. That can't be right.
Wow.
She stands for his seat. That's a terrible phrase.
But that must be what it is.
Paradoxically, maybe she stands for election of his seat. If you're British, please tell us this weird nomenclature. And wins and becomes the first woman member of Parliament. Nancy Astor sits in Parliament from 1919 to 1945.
Whoa.
She is kind of socially conscious in the manner of a wealthy woman at the time. She's concerned with women's rights and the evils of alcoholism and unemployment and so forth.
But throughout the Great Depression.
Yes. And through the war, unfortunately, what she's largely remembered for today is for just loving
Hitler
so much. You're joking, but yes, that's basically it.
Oh
yeah.
no, she was
she was pro-appeasement during the Chamberlain era, and apparently was bigoted enough that there's tons of her on the record saying what a huge problem Catholics and Jews are, basically anybody who's not her. And when she's ever called on this, her bigotry, she just says, to Joe Kennedy or whoever, "Oh, I'm so glad you didn't take all my writings seriously. It's not intended at you personally. I have many friends, of course, who are Catholics and Jews, even though I believe the great evil they both pose to the crown."
She did the internet like, I'm just joking, but I'm serious, but just joking.
Well, she also might have invented some of my best friends are X. I mean, that's pretty early for some of my best friends are Catholics.
And she's doing all this in an American accent.
Right. I wonder how long. That would be interesting to hear. There's there's recordings of Nancy Astor. We should listen.
Must be.
But for most of these women, there's little documentary history at all. So we don't know how they assimilated. When did their accents turn kind of ambiguous and transatlantic to the degree that they would have sounded off-putting to anyone in either country?
I mean, maybe they already had transatlantic accents, which...
Right, because they were wealthy.
Yeah, which
Northeasterners.
I think were probably closer to the Queen's English of 1775 than what they were speaking in the Victorian.
That's what people say, right? That Americans talk more like Elizabethans than Victorians do.
I wonder when they first said "tut tut." That seems like crossing a line.
Do you think everyone noticed?
Tut tut.
The party instantly becomes quiet.
Like, did you just say
a cucumber sandwich falls? So there's despite the fact that these women were kind of treated misogynistically as a literary trope or punchline, or worse, as basically borderline prostitutes in the newspapers. In fact, hundreds of them, they were all different and carved out their lives the best they could in a new country. And I'm happy to say that that's even true of Consuelo Vanderbilt, whom we left unhappy at Blenheim. Did I say Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt is what you just said.
Vanderbilt. We'll totally take that out.
No.
Built.
This is exactly...
Let me just say built a few times. Built.
This is exactly the kind of thing that our editor leaves in, because he's clearly listening to the show at 7 times speed and also playing a video game. Built.
I think we should leave all this in because it's fantastic stuff.
Behind the curtain.
She gets her happy ending. After her marriage finally ends to the Duke of Marlborough, Winston Churchill's cousin, she marries a wealthy French aviator. One Jacques Balsan, who is not just a pioneering pilot in the very early days of that, but has been a balloonist.
Oh, yeah.
And some kind of a hydroplane. Do hydroplanes have pilots?
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a motorboat, I'm not a pilot, right?
Sure. If you're piloting it.
Am I? Seems like stolen valor.
Well, no, because boats have a captain, but then they have a pilot. And the captain stands there with his hands clasped, he or she clasped behind their back, staring out the window, and then they say, "All ahead full."
But if I'm the only guy in a motorboat, just because I've got crab pots or something, am I the pilot? No. What am I doing?
Well, you're not a captain either. Yeah, you're more of a pilot than a captain.
I'm a boater.
But yeah,
I'm a boater.
I think you pilot a boat.
But if
I'm
you're
just going to stand on that ground.
But so even if you're I'm just saying, even if you're a boater in a motorboat or whatever, you're not a boater in a hydroplane, right? You're some kind of a daredevil. You need a better word.
Daredevil.
I bet they're pilots. Yeah, they're officially daredevils.
This guy sounds fascinating. A balloonist, a hydroplanist, and a rich.
Yeah, and he's
biplanist.
And he's got millions. I think unrelated to his whatever his
right
aerial heroics were. So she gets her happy ending, lives the rest of her life in perfect contentment, and writes a book about how great things are now. She works for war relief after World War I. She stands for London County Council and wins. So she also joins public service on a municipal level. She and Jacques settle in Palm Beach for much of the year.
Cool.
Back when that was that was actually a cool thing to do and not a little sus for rich people to relocate to DeSantis's Florida.
When all those 3 and 4 story Art Deco hotels were new and groovy.
Imagine. And you talked about what's the opposite of Anglophilia for Americophilia?
Yeah. What would it be?
We don't have a good prefix like Sino or Luso.
What is it?
We're just
Americophilia?
Sounds awful, right?
There has to be a better word.
I think it's America Ferrera. So you talked about how Churchill loved America. He actually was a frequent guest at his former in-laws' Art Deco mansion in Palm Beach. And it is, in fact, there that he writes his Iron Curtain speech.
Really?
After the war, because Consuelo, the former Consuelo Vanderbilt, is still living in happiness with her French daredevil husband. So,
an Iron Curtain is being drawn across Europe.
Is that your Churchill, or is that just how you talk?
Burb.
That's good.
How many current UK aristocrats are part American? Like, how deeply did that then the ones that did have 5 kids, how much of the time is it like Tony Blair is 1/4 American and nobody talks about it?
Tony Blair's not a peer, right? Well, I mean,
no.
He's probably,
maybe now. He's been knighted for service too.
He's Commander
the
Blair.
nation of Iraq.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question, because you still, when you hear these folks talk on TV, they still are speaking on the telly, I would say. They're still speaking in received pronunciation BBC English. And there doesn't appear to be much of a genealogical marker of their American ancestors, which I guess means the women assimilated or were forced to assimilate pretty thoroughly. On Downton Abbey, all the daughters with an American mom still speak in perfect BBC English. So,
Right.
So maybe their goal was to eradicate any of the downsides of Americanness in your family member, and that includes the accent.
This feels like a thing that you could lose yourself on Reddit for 100 years with people arguing about, like, well, technically Katharine Hepburn was the blah, 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 blah. And it's why I avoid Reddit like a plague.
It's why you spend all your time on 4chan.
Not anymore.
The birth of the you were there for the birth of the alt-right, but now you're less interested.
It's just so boring. People are so dumb there now. They used to be like dangerous and smart and awful. Now they're just dull.
Those were the days.
And that concludes Dollar Princesses. Entry 370.NU3603. Certificate number 33143 in the omnibus. Futurelings, if social media still exists in your era, we are very, very sorry to hear it.
It's not our fault.
I feel like more and more people are performatively saying that they're going to get off social media really soon, but they're only saying it on social media. And we still don't know where to go say we're getting off social media that isn't social media. It's very confusing.
We have a podcast for it. We do a whole show about how we're going to get off social media.
Yeah.
And this doesn't count as a podcast, as a social media platform.
No, but we're always encouraging people within the show to go on social media and talk about how great we are, which is, as we know, one of the only ways we can think of to attract new people.
I have a new book out, and everybody's very disappointed to find that I'm not on Twitter, because then I could promote my book to all those people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, none of that number will ever get my tweets because of the way X is engineered now. So, my reach is going to be much greater somewhere less awful.
Yeah, right.
But
like the Atlantic magazine, which every smart person still reads.
We heard from somebody who says we're insufficiently supportive of Blue Sky.
You and me?
In these outros, yeah.
But aren't you on Blue Sky? I'm certainly on Blue Sky.
Yeah, but he sent me this long explanation of how we're just doing Blue Sky wrong because we need to get a starter pack and follow thousands of people, and then our feed will be good.
Oh, see.
And I'm like, buddy, I'm a Blue Sky elder. I was on Twitter for a decade.
Yeah.
My feed is not the problem.
Yeah, that smacks of that early Twitter thing where you need to follow 1,000 people, and I did it at one point.
You need to follow back. Everyone who follows you should follow them.
My feed became pure garbage, and then I unfollowed 1,000 people, and it went back to being funny and interesting. But I find the people on Blue Sky are just as preachy and irritating as the people on Threads and everywhere else.
Oh, more so.
I don't want to be lectured by people about the etiquette of ordering a coffee. Like, leave me out of it. Anyway, if you are still going for it, go to @Ken Jennings, @John Roderick, @Omnibus Project. I always highly recommend at Omnibus Out of Context, because they, whoever runs that,
Only on Blue Sky, I believe.
is always finding funny things that we say. And part of the fun is trying to figure out whether Ken said it or I said it.
I would say they're unfunny things that we say, but out of context, they make us seem funny.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And
that's what I need.
There are some that are clearly Ken, and there are some that are clearly me. And sometimes they actually transcribe a short conversation between us. But some of them, I would never guess this. It's impossible to tell who said it. I'm like, we have such distinctive voices and outlooks. Like, how would you, how is it that so often you and I say something?
Well, sometimes I can, if I read it, sometimes I can hear the quote in your voice and I can hear it in my voice and it would mean something totally different.
Oh yeah, I see that too.
But I have no memory of which it was.
Yeah. You would be earnest and I would be sarcastic, or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah. Depending on whether it was a good take or not.
Like, for instance, you say vice versa, and I say vice versa.
Well, vice versa is correct, but I think vice versa is fun to say.
It's nice. It's got a little lilt to it.
Da-da-da-da.
We encourage you to email us with all of your compliments to theomnibusproject@gmail.com. If you have insults and mean things to say, email us at kenjennings at kenjennings.com.
At hotmail.com.
But if you do want to like give us a correction or some mild admonition, you can email us at the Omnibus Project, and we will talk about your email on our spectacular Patreon-only additional addenda podcast, where we respond to viewer mail at great length. So you can find that at patreon.com/omnibusproject. And there's an archive now of addenda programs that goes back years.
Yeah, there's like 70. That means we've been doing it for 6 years or more. That's crazy. 5 or 6 years.
Once a month. For
whether we feel like it or not.
So you can go back and hear from
podcaster's life.
Hear from all of the futurelings that are like, technically, and then we're like, okay, or we're
that show should be called Technically.
It's either okay or no.
Somebody was going to write in and complain that I said vice versa there, and you diffused it.
I did.
By that guy's deleting that email right now.
Like, ugh.
Thank you for your service, John.
You can also mail us actual things to P.O. Box 55744, Shoreline, Washington, 98155. Ken, you showed up today with a bunch of mail.
Yeah, there's a ton of mail here. Here's a postcard from Dubai.
Cool.
Fireworks, possibly Photoshop, going off over the Burj Khalifa. Recently an omnibus adjacent entry. Big love from the UAE. You bunker boys have been a wonderful taste of moist green home while I was living here. Do you think Matt is from the Northwest, or is all of the U.S. moist green home compared to the Emirates?
It sounds like he's from the Northwest.
Could be. We are moist.
What possible reason could he have to be living in the UAE? He doesn't say.
He's working for some very compromised industry, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's bad for the earth.
Maybe it's international soccer.
That's right. Or he's working for that awful golf consortium run by the Saudi royal family,
right?
Or something.
Trying to get all the tennis players and golfers to sign billion-dollar contracts.
He sends us camel kisses if you wanted camel kisses.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you, Matt. I hope you get to visit Moist Green Home soon. Enjoy Dubai. Patrick writes from Slovenia.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's postmarked in Postojnska Jama. I don't know what that is. It's a T. Postojnska. I can't spell it. It's a cave in Slovenia.
That's where it's postmarked. So not Ljubljana, but
it is yes.
He mailed it at the cave.
It's a beautiful kind of Carlsbad-y looking famous Slovenian cave.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Where he both visited, then bought a postcard, and then made sure he had it postmarked there at a cost of many zlotys or whatever they have in Slovenia.
That seems right.
Is it the euro? Slovenia is not Eurozone, is it?
Wait a minute. Is that one of the only territories of ye old Yugoslavia that is part of the Euro world?
I feel like I should know this. But there was no euro last time you were there, right?
No, but that was a long time ago. In fact, up here on the wall, you notice that I've now hung up some art here in the bunker, and that poster is from Zagreb, a show we did in Zagreb with, and you'll know us by the Trail of Dead. And we were in Slovenia the day before that.
Who is the angry boy clutching the cassette tape?
Some Croatian boy that's mad about something. Maybe his bridge was destroyed in the war.
Slovenia, wow. Slovenia once used the tolar, which is cognative dollar. Now the euro.
Yeah, there you go. Good job, Slovenia.
So thank you for spending however many euros this was on this postcard from Park Postoinska Yama. And what else we got here?
Some stickers, huh?
We do have stickers. There's so much mail. Oh, this is ultra running stuff. Let's see.
There's one more sticker you missed.
David is an ultra runner. He sent stickers and magnets both from some of his recent 100-mile races.
Whoa, I wonder if he's met Ben Gibbard out there on his 100-mile race.
Did you see somebody just posted a picture of Ben at some ultra running gathering to the Futurelings page?
But he wasn't running, right? Was that the he was just standing around
I couldn't
soaking
tell.
it up?
I just couldn't. I just saw a blurry void when I tried to look at that picture. We have the MAMBP trail runners, whatever that means. Hurt, which is the Hawaiian ultra running team. That's a 100-miler. Hindsight. I don't know why it's called hindsight. In hindsight, I would be like, I should not have run 100 miles. I think you'd be older but wiser after that.
Ben, not to toot his horn.
Why not? Why shouldn't we?
But he just ran what is that invitational that they do in eastern northeastern California? It's a big run that you have to be invited to, and he ran in under the whatever the time is required that you get a belt buckle, a fancy belt buckle.
He got the belt buckle,
and he got the belt buckle. So he came back, and like 2 days later, I said, "Hey, let's meet for lunch." And he was like, "I can't walk." But then he came to the 4th of July party here, and he'd only been back a little while then, but he seemed all fine. He seemed fine. His bones had rebuilt themselves.
I was out of town and I missed my chance to hang out with you and Ben alike.
Well, you never recognize him, so I'd have to introduce you again.
Is he in the room right now?
No, what's funny is now he has a new, or not even new, but like a girlfriend who the joke between us is that I don't recognize her. Oh. And I didn't start that joke, but every time I meet her, she like jokingly reintroduces herself to me. So, well,
I hope next time we see them, we're together, so you can tell me that one of them is Ben Gibbard. Yeah. And I can tell you that one of them is Ben Gibbard's girlfriend. We also got a book from a listener. Alex sent us a copy of his new book, Collisions, about the Alvarez family of American physicists. I guess it's about Luis Alvarez in particular. A physicist's journey from Hiroshima to the death of the dinosaurs.
Hold it up.
He's the guy who found Alvarez found the iridium layer that was kind of the telltale sign that some kind of a comet or meteor strike had killed the dinosaurs.
Right. But it does seem like the death of the dinosaurs technically came first. So in the
before the meteor hit?
No, but before
conspiracy theory.
Before the nuclear bomb.
I see.
What is the subtitle of the book is?
So you think it should be A Physicist's Journey from the Death of the Dinosaurs to Hiroshima?
I think it should be.
That's a good note for Alex.
From Hiroshima,
is it too late, Alex?
From Hiroshima to the discovery of the death of the dinosaurs, but that's too long.
It also makes it seem like he didn't know the dinosaurs were dead, and then he was kind of shocked at some point after the war to learn that they were not around anymore.
Right, that does also read weirdly. Well, that's a beautiful book.
It is great. I have not popped it open yet, but I'm definitely going to read the chapter about the dinosaur stuff, the KT, whatever it is.
It's crazy for young people to think that we grew up in a world where nobody knew why the dinosaurs died.
Great mystery. Were they smoking? Were they eating too many nitrates?
Did they become invisible?
We didn't know.
Do they move so fast that we can't see them?
And what is this? Let's see. Oh, wow. So, we did the show about vanity plates, and it meant we got a lot of vanity plates.
Right. That became more popular than mail trucks for a while.
Andrew considered joining the Patreon, but he said, what if instead I spent that money on sending them weird stuff? What do you think about Andrew's plan,
If
John?
some of that weird stuff is $100 bills.
Unlike Delaware, where there is a market for low-digit license plates, I live in Indiana where there is no market at all, but I wanted one anyway. and he was lucky enough to get A-10.
What the what?
He got a lot of comments because there is a military aircraft, the A-10 Thunderbolt.
There is. The Warthog, they call it.
But this year, when it was time to renew, he chose 8D.
Oh, even shorter.
It looks like a smiley face, too, if you do that.
8D.
Which means he has this A-10 sitting around.
And he sent it to us?
And he sent it to us.
That's bonkers.
So if you want this amazingly collectible low-digit Indiana plate, although apparently it is not collectible in Indiana, but maybe here it is.
It has a covered bridge on it, which I didn't realize that Indiana was famous for its covered bridges. Or maybe there's only one covered bridge in Indiana, and this is it.
Well, where's Madison County?
Oh, I thought it was in Iowa.
I think it is.
Madison County.
So you'd have to go all the way across Illinois to find the amazing, famous covered bridges of Indiana.
You would. Let's see. Madison County is, well, I don't know. Who cares? It's and then AI says, would you like to see results closer to you? I'm like, no. It's the opposite of what I want. Yeah, it's in Iowa, I think.
He also sent us a picture of his dog, Winnie, who apparently listens to the show.
That's not the same as spending money on things.
I hope I haven't missed a please stop sending us your dumb vanity license plates PSA. No one has actually sent us a license plate, right?
Nope, this is it.
This is our first one.
This is it. And what's interesting is that this license plate is a piece of metal, right? But all the stuff has been printed on it rather than stamped.
Has not been stamped. So, and it still kind of feels like it's metal and like very little metal and a lot of something else, right? It's making that saw noise.
But like, what are prisoners doing in the prisons if not stamping license
They're
plates?
sticking this big sticker onto metal.
That seems strange. There's also a barcode here. What would you... Oh, that's probably some cop thing.
We have so much mail. Should I open one more?
Well, the show is long.
How long?
We're at an hour and 32 minutes by my reckoning.
I have so much mail for next week. How about that?
Yeah, people are going to have to listen to next week's show and we'll cover more mail then.
So much. It's a mail cliffhanger.
Well, I have said all of my things.
Did you do the Patreon thing? By implication, you did.
I did. Oh, also follow Ken and me on Blue Sky.
And it's very important to do Blue Sky correctly. Get a starter pack.
Yeah. Follow 1,000 people.
Listeners, from our vantage point in your distant past, we have no idea how long our civilization survived. We hope and pray that the catastrophe we fear may never come. But you know what? The dinosaurs said that too, as they were eating their nitrate-filled bacon.
And probably the sentient mist that's listening to this show is saying it about themselves.
I've always dreamed of being sentient mist.
Yeah.
Like that. I hope that's what awaits us after death.
Just be, but also like, yeah, I'm still here.
And so you can kind of dissociate if you're like, I'm so done today. Just blow apart. If the worst comes soon, though, this recording, like all our recordings, may be our final word. But if Providence allows, we hope to be back with you soon for another entry in the hour.